All right, folks, we're continuing on with the notes for Chapter 1, and this time around we're going to pick things up with management in electronic and digital media. Let's talk about levels of management, and we're going to use radio as an example here to kind of kick things off here. In radio, each has a specific area of responsibility. Each manager that we're talking about, they seem to have a certain concentration that they are involved with. You have the program director that's responsible for the on-air sound of the radio station. You have the general sales manager charged with keeping up advertising sales and being responsible for the sales associates that the station has. You also have the traffic manager that coordinates the scheduling of commercial advertisements and other program material, trying to keep up with the rates that are being sold for the advertising, making sure they're being scheduled at the proper times, all that sort of thing. Also usually involved in the billing of said advertisements once they've run. The chief engineer makes sure everything functions from a technical standpoint. And that's involving a lot more IT as well as the mechanical elements of things going on in the studio and at the transmitter. Also, the general manager, or if it's someone overseeing multiple stations, the market manager. This person monitors and continually evaluates the entire operation and then reports to the station owners or the CEO or whoever oversees everything on a national level. Now, there's different levels of management, and we're going to talk briefly about these. Lower level managers generally center on supervising others and monitoring individual performance. It's going to be like the immediate supervisor for the workers that don't necessarily have any sort of a managerial role. Middle managers typically plan and allocate resources and manage groups of people. So they're going to be overseeing not just one specific department, but perhaps they're kind of coordinating with several departments or several divisions. And then executive managers monitor the entire organizational environment, identifying internal and external factors that impact their operation. All managers, though, will share certain skills, functions, and roles. The graphics that you see on the screen, these come from your textbook, so you can take a look at these and basically kind of think about some of the different attributes of what the skills and the functions and the roles are. Management skills refer to the basic competencies needed by electronic media managers. So some of the skills listed here, the technical skills, you have to know how things work. You have to have human skills because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with employees. Conceptual skills, you have to understand the theory of how things work to a certain degree. Financial skills, are things cost effective? Can you keep within a budget? That's important. Marketing skills, how to put your branding out there and make that attractive to an audience. And then entrepreneurial skills, the things that we do that are a little different, that help us to take risks and to hopefully reap rewards for the things that we do. Management functions refer to the tasks that managers perform. So the actual different sort of things that are specific to managers, like planning different things, organizing different groups, doing motivating of employees, helping everyone to stay on task and on vision, doing different controlling sort of things. And this is controlling employees, but it's also kind of just controlling the environment, making sure things don't get too out of whack. Facilitating things, empowering staff, providing resources and tools. Communicating, making sure everyone's on the same page with everything, and then negotiating, because sometimes there's going to be conflict of interest and trying to resolve those sorts of things. So those are different functions of management. And then the roles of management. This refers to the different roles that managers adopt as they interact with different constituencies, such as employees and owners and consumers and peers, because again, they all have different agendas, different interests, different needs, and the manager has to be able to accommodate all of those different things. 3 broad areas of skills that are needed in the management process. First off, electronic and digital media managers need to understand the technical aspects of their operations. They need to know how stuff works. Then they need to teach other employees how stuff works. So this is something that can cause problems if only one of those things is going on. If a manager knows how stuff works but doesn't take time to teach others how it works, then the manager gets overwhelmed with doing the work that the employees are hired to do. But if they just show employees how to do things and then never hop in themselves, then the employees get a certain sense of resentment, or perhaps wonder if the manager really does know what he or she is doing. So they have to be able to have that technical aspect, to know how the operation works, to be able to show others how it works so that they can get everybody involved, including the manager himself, herself. Successful managers exhibit strong interpersonal skills and are particularly adept at leading and motivating employees. So this isn't to say that a manager necessarily needs to be likable, but there has to be something where the manager does show a certain amount of interest in his or her employees and has a way of being able to rally those people into moving towards the overall objectives of the organization. And then thirdly, conceptual and problem-solving skills. Managers must make decisions based on sound judgment. Because change is constant in the media, managers must be able to respond quickly to the environment. Sometimes you have to make a decision and take action pretty much instantaneously. There's not time to check with somebody or have a meeting or those sorts of things. Sometimes something needs to be done, and it needs to be done yesterday. So there has to be decisions that are made by management to move forward with something pretty much at a moment's notice in order to keep the operation going the way that it needs to. 3 other crucial skills that we'll talk about here. Managers need strong financial skills in order to meet financial goals, manage budgets, and deal with unexpected contingencies. You have to be able to make sure that you're not overspending, but you also want to make sure that things are provided in such a way that the job at hand is able to be done with a certain level of expectation and excellence. Managers need a strong understanding of marketing. They must know how to position their products effectively and know what vehicles and platforms are needed to build audiences. How do you make an impact to those that you want to consume your content? Managers also need to understand how to use the 4 P's of marketing. And just very briefly, these are price, product, promotion, and place. These are the things that need to be answered in terms of putting together a marketing strategy. How much is it going to cost? What is it that's being offered? How are you going to make people aware of it? That's promotion. And then place. How do they get it? Where do they get it? Where is it available? And all those sorts of things. And what place does it have within the overall culture of what the company is offering and who they want to use it and all of those sorts of things. So you can almost put place, you can almost put the word purpose in place of the word place in that regard. So price, product, promotion, and place, the 4 P's of marketing. Managers need to have a basic entrepreneurial mindset as well. Today's managers need to be innovative, tenacious, and not afraid to take risks, as well as exhibit a sense of passion. So you have to feel it in a sense, and it has to mean something to you as a manager in order to make these things work very well. You want to see the organization succeed, and therefore you're going to think in ways that help to perpetuate that purpose. One of the management functions that is helpful for many is by using this model called the POMC model. Let's go through what each of those letters mean. P means planning. Planning involves establishing organizational objectives and providing others with the resources needed to accomplish their tasks. Both short and long-term objectives need to be established in the planning process. Now, this is very important no matter what sort of business that you are working with, and with organizations as well. You need to have a plan in order to move forward. If you just go out there by the seat of your pants, and you don't really have a purpose in mind and a way to get to that purpose, then more than likely things are going to fall apart. Okay, the O in the POMC model is organizing. The organizing function determines who or what unit is responsible for specific company objectives. Now, each department needs to have its own planning objectives, budget, and staff to meet necessary goals, and that allows upper-level managers to concentrate on other activities. But here's the thing. Those department objectives, that department budget, those things in that individual division, they need to complement and advance the objectives of the organization as a whole. So if you have a vision for a particular company, then the vision of the department should complement and should really support the vision of the company as a whole. So if a particular department or division is doing something that doesn't really fit with the overarching goals of the whole company, then that's probably something that they should not be doing. Everything needs to look at what the overarching vision is and then determine how that particular department can help to make that overarching vision a reality. So the department division needs to complement that. M is for motivating. Motivating employees to a high level of performance helps any organization accomplish its goals. Employees want managers to, they want them to recognize them for their individual achievements and contribution to the organization, and they want opportunities for continued growth and advancement. So there's that idea that a manager should be encouraging, should be empowering, it should be affirming whenever employees are able to reach goals. They should coach and encourage employees whenever something needs to be corrected in one way or another. So having that idea of motivating is very important in a manager's capabilities and abilities. Finally, C. C is for control. As a management function, control involves several areas of responsibility. It involves giving feedback to other managers and employees. What are you doing well? What are you not doing well? What aren't you doing that you could be? Those sorts of things. Monitoring the progress toward completion of organizational objectives and financial goals. If there's deadlines involved, making sure things are they're staying on track with those sorts of things. And just watching how everything is moving along and what sort of things are working and not. And then also making changes as situations demand. So if something's not working as is expected, either change the process, change the people that are doing it, whatever needs to happen in order for the objective to be able to be met. So that is POMC. That is planning, organizing, motivation, and control. Three other important functions to talk about here. As facilitators, managers must empower their employees with the needed resources to complete organizational tasks. Media managers have many ways to communicate with employees who need and expect managers to keep them abreast of information important to their jobs. So it's not just someone that is standing over a group of people with their arms crossed and expecting them to do all the work. It's providing things that are needed and necessary, whether it's actual material items or ideas or concepts, those sorts of things. So really what we're talking about here is making sure that those things are available and that the communication that those things are available is happening. So you have formal and informal lines of communication that is going to help with this. This can be anything from visiting employees in their work areas, having an open door policy in your office, having several methods of communication available, in person, email, telephone, texting, whatever is necessary, and then encouraging communication from employees in those ways and making that known that you want to hear from your employees as a manager. All electronic and digital media managers serve as negotiators in a variety of situations, whether it's with employees and conflict resolution, whether it's with vendors and trying to get the items that they need at reasonable costs and within a certain amount of time, negotiating with advertisers on how to put a campaign together, the cost of the advertising, programmers as well. Especially in television, trying to obtain the rights to certain programming content that is going to appeal to your audience. All these things are involved with management on one way, one level or another, and negotiation happens in all of those different processes. 3 types of roles that managers adopt in their daily environment are interpersonal roles, informational roles, and decisional roles. The interpersonal roles are concerned with leadership. If you don't have that sense of knowing where you are, where you're going, how to do things, how to meet the needs of the people that you're responsible for as a leader, then you're not connecting in that interpersonal sort of way. Informational roles, making sure everyone understands what's happening and what is expected. And then decisional roles, making the important decisions as they are needed. 3 roles that exemplify contemporary electronic media managers include these. Managers, they're expected to provide effective leadership for their individual department and for their organization. Being a good leader involves accepting responsibility for the organization as well as for its employees. Don't play the blame game. Just because someone doesn't do what you expected of them, well, that is still your responsibility to make sure that the thing gets done and gets done according to standards and expectations. If you don't see that come to fruition, then, well, you're the one that's going to be held responsible because you didn't correct the situation or provide a different means for that to happen when you saw that things weren't going well. Managers in the electronic and digital media serve as representatives in many settings. They serve as the face or the voice of a company when they go out and about talking with potential clients, with viewers, with listeners, different people within the industry. The people of the organization help to perpetuate the reputation of the organization, and managers especially have a lot of that responsibility on them. And then the manager also serves as a liaison. Managers serve as conduits of communication between staff and the parent corporation. Whenever decisions are made by upper management, usually the manager conveys that to his or her immediate employees. And whenever a manager sees concerns from the staff, usually it's the manager that takes that to upper management. So there you go. There's the notes for Chapter 1. Now, at this point, make sure that you get those notes all finished up and turned in. You also want to start taking a look at the study questions and getting those done. Remember that your study questions are going to be largely based on the notes. You want to submit those in via Blackboard or turn them in to me via email or in person. There's also going to be a quick 3-question survey on Blackboard that I would like you to complete before we get together in our class session to discuss the chapter. The survey, I think, will help you to be able to process some of the things that you read in the chapter, things that really impacted you, things that you hadn't heard before that you learned that were new or exciting, things that you're still kind of confused about. It helps me to see where you're at and helps me to be able to kind of steer the discussion that we have when we're together in the right way. So bring your thoughts, bring your questions. You can put those in the survey. You can bring them with you in the class session. And when we get together, we'll talk about all of these things. So I will see you when we come together to talk about Chapter 1.